As we are 10 minutes right before the start of today's New York session, we're going to make a quick review of the market conditions so that we could prepare ourselves for today's action. I'm going to bring here the daily chart um, just to make us once more aware of where we are. Basically, we had this well-defined bullish move. Uh, Basically, we came up to MMB4 and continued the move, and we recently had this flush and this retracement on the daily chart, and from there we had once again a bullish reaction. If we take a look at price action from that time, so basically price made this flush, and from there started this bullish run. We recently, or most recently, had the start of a bullish cycle out of this accumulation MB into an MMB1 into a failed, in this case, MMB2, which made a flush down below the EMAs. And at this time, price reclaimed the EMAs. So we are at this time, or we at this time made price go over the EMAs. And this was basically overnight price action where price stayed basically around this area, right at or above the EMA. So in terms of our C2 time frame, what I have here is an accumulation MB label, which has not been confirmed yet, but I would be expecting in this case a continuation of the bullish move. So my expectancy in this case will be to see a candle close above this high here. In terms of our context time frame during this time yesterday, basically right before the end of the session, we had this bullish move after a big down move basically throughout the whole session. But right before the session closed, we had this run through this bullish cycle once again. We made up to MMB3, and from there we started going sideways. We went below the EMAs, and at this time we are having price below the EMAs in our C2 time frame, which is basically what we can see here on the C2 time frame as price right at the 20 EMA. So once again, my expectancy will be to see some sort of stage one, just like maybe this consolidation that we are seeing here on the C time frame, and from there to see validation of what could be in this case an accumulation and be at this point. So a candle close above this high would enable us in this case to consider the start of a new bullish cycle. So we are gonna wait for this and basically see how price behaves after market open. And here, well, this as soon as we get a move above this high here with a candle close, that would enable us to start looking here for a proper new bullish cycle, so that we can make the usual follow-up of the momentum MBs that get created. And then as soon as we have a clean flush of those momentum MBs into the 10 or the 20 EMA. That's the point where we will be stepping into the entry time frame on the 5 seconds to look for entries based on our double NB model. So that's basically our game plan at the moment. So we have to wait until the start of the session and wait for proper alignment before we can start formulating any trade ideas for today's session. So this is the start of the session. At this time we are looking at buyers strongly coming in. This is one of the things that we were anticipating in this case. Now we have to see if this bullish move is gonna sustain. So at this time we have to wait for this candle to close above this high to give us a proper confirmation of this accumulation MB. Now we start seeing a clear development here on the 1 minute with a proper flush through an MMB1 that could lead to a buy opportunity. So we're gonna just follow that for the possibility of a quick setup right into the session if we see again some sort of clear move or clear development.
Swiss Gold Association says they're concerned that this specific clarification from the US may negatively impact the international flow of physical gold.
So I would be considering this high here on the 1 minute as
Tesla
an accumulation MB,
gain up 1.1%,
which has been confirmed through this candle. So this here is basically the high of that possible MMB 1, but at this time we have to wait at least for price to come back to the 10. On the right here we have the containment line. Now we've had the touch of the of the 10.
Swiss Gold Association as the imposition of tariffs
This
on
would
these gold
be a
casts
double MB, but as it is below
to export them
the
to
containment line, we wouldn't be considering that one. So we'll wait either for a new setup around this area, or if price wants to flush here into the 20. I'd like to see a build up before price coming back to the 20, or an entry right above right above this area here. So I'm gonna cancel, as we are definitely seeing price going below the EMAs. So there's some buying pressure coming in. This could still lead to an entry setup. Here the buy stop is kind of tight, so I'm gonna skip that one. I think I just got that canceled right before it activated. So that one was valid, but the reason that I decided to skip it was because I do not consider this an enough size of a stop loss, due to the fact that this is just protecting MMB2, and normally I'd like to see the protection right under the EMAs, which would have been around this area. So that's the reason why I decided to skip that one, besides the fact that we are just at this time just 6 minutes into the session. So at this point, price could very easily move aggressively to either the upside or the downside. So that's why I decided to stay away. So I have drawn the trade here that could have been placed with the proper stop. So this is basically the one. Previously, the reason why I did not take it was because stop loss was around this area, and this wasn't an enough SL protection for me, and did not have the time actually to place it with the proper risk. So just in order for us to record what could have happened here, I placed this one here with the proper risk, and we can actually see that it went up to our take profit. So this was certainly a trade, a valid one, and in alignment with our thoughts from basically the start of the session. So at this point we had validation of MMB1 on our 1 minute time frame. So now what I'm gonna do is wait for another flush here as what could be part of an MMB2 for a continuation of the up move. So here we just came into the 5 EMA on our validation time frame, and we are rising. So here there was maybe an entry through this buy stop here, but we do not take that one as we just had a flush into the 5. So that's the reason why I decide to stay out, because I always want at least a flush into the 10. So at this time we are here on building MMB3 and flushing at the 5. I already put here the containment line. Now we are flushing and aiming to touch the 10 EMA on the V. So at this point we have to wait for a double MB with a buy stop above the containment line and above rising EMAs. This one was a double MB, but would have been quite tight in my opinion here, just at the containment line. So that's why I decided to skip that one. So we're getting, it seems, a deeper flush on MMB3. Let's see if it goes from here. Once again, just retesting the 10 EMA, or if it wants to go and test the 20. I had just made an adjustment of the containment line here. And we're testing the 10 once again, I believe for the third time, yeah, around here, and now once again here. So I believe this could want to go deeper here on the flush of the MMB3. Had a reaction from the third touch of the 10 EMA on the V, and now it seems to be going towards the validation of MMB3 on the V. We are half an hour into the session, and as we expected, we had a candle close on the hourly above this high. So I'm just gonna remove the question mark here, as this was actually an accumulation MB validated. So we are currently here on this MMB3 flush. We had a move from the 10 EMA, but the MMB as a whole has not been validated yet. So we gotta see if there's gonna be a new flush here that we could follow for possible move into the upside as part of this cycle that we are currently having here, and we are currently on MMB3, so there's still a chance here and room for price to go to the upside. So there, it seems we're gonna get our validation of MMB3. We had a flush from this high up into the 20, but there was no double MB formation here. Just these candles went up and up and up until this point, so there was no entry opportunity to be taken. So on the validation, we can see that there was certainly candle close above this high, so this would be an MMB3 already validated. But now we are getting flush once again into the EMAs. So at this time we are getting a new flush here out of what seems to be MMB4. Aggressive candles right here to the downside, looking at test of the 20. Wiki price action.
The US and Russia are said to plan a Ukraine deal, cementing Russian gains. Seeing weakness in WTI crude here. Again, US and Russia are said to plan a Ukraine deal, cementing Russian gains. So Washington and Moscow are aiming to reach a deal to halt the war in Ukraine that would lock in Russia's occupation of territory seized during its military invasion, according to people familiar with the matter. Again, large amounts of weakness now coming through in WTI crude, down around 1.2%. Some more information here is the US and Russian officials are working toward an agreement on territories for a planned summit meeting between Trump and Putin as early as next week, according to people familiar who are speaking on conditions of anonymity to discuss private deliberations. The US is working to get buy-in from Ukraine and its European allies on the deal, which is far from certain, the people said.
So this here is basically an entry that could have been placed out of this MMB4 flush, a very quick move to the downside, and we had some reaction from this, barely a touch of the
Demonstrate what
20,
we're expected to hear from Fed's Muslim speaking.
and from there we had this double
Fed's
MB
Muslim speaking
and
on
a buy
banking
through
credit.
this high,
Text is expected with a Q&A with moderator.
which would have been activated here, and at this time is playing around this area, so this would have been certainly a break-even trade at this point. So at this point we had MMB4 validated, and now there's a new flush, which I'm hesitant to consider due to the fact that we are already had the validation of MMB4. So, and due to the place where we are at on the charts, and basically in regards to the hourly time frame, there is a chance that there's gonna be some sort of flush here before a continuation to the upside, if that's what the price is gonna do. So if we take a look here, actually that's what's occurring. Just let us show this one here. If we make this containment line, basically price came here onto the 20 and never made a validation of a double MB, so price never came above the containment line. So that comes again somehow aligned to our expectation here, as we already completed this bullish cycle on the V. MMB4 was validated, and here we had this previous high on the hourly, so there was a chance to get some sort of reaction from there, and that's what we are having in alignment with the fact that we are expecting here some sort of reset of the validation of this validation time frame, a reset, so that we can get into a new cycle. So at this time, if we take a look at our context time frame, we are
Ukraine
right here.
bonds climb as US and Russia sit to plan.
We're kind of building an MMB1 out of here. So this is MMB1. And we have now to sit and wait if we are gonna build a new cycle out of here. First, price would have to consolidate, build some sort of accumulation MB, and after the validation of that accumulation MB, then we would be enabled to look for, once again, momentum MBs on a new cycle to the upside to get in on the flushes of those momentum MBs to the 10 or to the 20 MA. So we're going to be waiting for that. So after this flush, as we were expecting a reset of the validation cycle, that's something that certainly occurred here, and from there we had some stage 1 built around this area. I would say around this high we had a new accumulation MB that got validated, and from there we had an MMB1, a quick flush from this high into the 10, and then a move above, a creation of MMB1 into the 5,
Trump
and
Truth
then
Social says tariffs are having a huge positive.
once again a move above. So we are currently sitting on the hourly above this high here. We are currently for sure above this accumulation MB that got validated through the first hourly candle of the session, and now we are moving above this previous high here, and on our context time frame we are also around this area. At one time we had this labeled here, this high as MMB1, as we were expecting some sort of flush, but this does not or did not happen. So I'm gonna just remove this label for now, as we are still going higher as part of this momentum MB1 on the context. And as we can see, a developing of a cycle, a new bullish cycle on the context that enables us as well to start looking for possible entries. Now we are kind of building an MMB3, so that's something that we could follow up on our entry time frame. So I'm gonna just start following this one here on our entry time frame to see if there's anything worth putting some risk on the table. So at this time, this is MMB3 on our validation, and this is basically what we are looking at the entry time frame. We still have not touched the 10 EMA, so we are still looking for that. Probably the best for us would be to see price flushing here a little bit deeper to then adjust this containment line. At this point, price has been consolidating around this area, so not much for us to do at this time. So we gotta wait to see if there's gonna come at least a touch of the 10 before this moves up. So we are now flushing below this low. So we're gonna be following it from there, and we are actually gonna use an internal containment line here in case this serves us to get position somehow. Right now we are at the 20. So here I was looking to get an entry, but had no chance to get positioned. So at this point I had a buy stop here, considering here MMB1 and MMB2, but that failed and we are flushing deeper, probably now into the 20. So that's it. That's a strong move down to the 20. Now let's see if there's some reaction from there, from that 20 EMA. So it seems that this candle's gonna close below the EMA. So it seems there is strength to the downside. So that's what we are seeing yet at this moment. So this is gonna be a failure of MMB3. That's what it seems. It's gonna be, unless there's a quick reaction here with strength to the upside, but we should see see buyers at this time coming in to get price go once again above the EMAs. So there's two candles in a row that close below the EMA, so we're gonna stay out for this one and see how this is gonna go from here. So at this point we saw a failure of MMB3. This is where we left. From there we had some reaction coming here above the EMAs for a while, consolidated there, but finally failed. So this failure is coming from here, basically the flush inside the context time frame. So this is momentum MB1, which is currently being built on the context time frame, At one point, before earlier this morning, we anticipated it to come from here, but it actually went higher, and now it is flushing at first into the 5, and now it's flushing into the 10 EMA. So at this time, we are waiting to see if this is gonna flush further, or if there's any sort of consolidation gonna come from here on our validation time frame through some sort of stage 1 into a stage 2 for the beginning of a new bullish cycle that we get to follow. So this is basically where we are at this time. So at this time we're seeing an accumulation MB being validated on our validation time frame, and currently there's some sort of flush. We're gonna switch here. We're getting one flush here into the 20 EMA. This could be so we may have missed this one. There was certainly a double MB here. That could have led to this entry. So that one was actually a good entry out of this flush, this MMB1, through these two candles from this high onto the EMA here. And from there we had this double MB formation, which led to this move. So sadly we missed that one. It was a very nice trade. So just to show here that actually this one caught me unprepared. Was very quickly here, but this was an awesome entry out of this move from price away from the EMAs, a flush from the high up to the EMAs, a double MB formation, price entry was above rising EMAs, above containment line, and this one went up to our full TP. Now it came all the way down, but this entry here was an A quality setup. But this time we're following up this move here. After having this reaction to the bullish side, we had some failure, and then once again an aggressive move to the upside right here. You can say here a distribution currently creating a flush into the EMA. So now the question is, will it make some sort of move to the upside from here, creating a new opportunity through a double MB? So that's where we are gonna be following up at this time. So we have set a buy stop there. We had a little bit of slippage. So let's see if we get at least to this high, which would be the validation. So we're getting there. We're validating the MB. Now we're coming once again to the downside. We're here at this point. So we could very well come here up to this point where we have the 10 EMA. So at this time, I believe this is more than 50% of our of the drawdown. So we're gonna place here the stop loss at break even, following our rules. This would be kind of our last chance to get a reaction, to have a new test of the 20. So we need to come up at this point. If we just move here down, probably we're gonna fail. So let's see. Yeah, that was a loss. I could have closed here manually for a minor loss, but I was just hoping to get my stop loss triggered at break even. So that one was -1. So after we took our stop here, price went down into the 10 once again, and from there it basically flushed into the 20 on the context time frame. So at this time we are gonna wait to see what could develop from here, from this point, if this is gonna be a failure even on the context time frame, or if this is gonna build at some point here some sort of stage one, that we could look here at the validation into a stage 2 and the possibility for us to follow the new cycle to the bullish side. So we have to see if this is gonna occur, or if C is gonna fail, which could mean that there's gonna be a flush on the C2 time frame, where I'm just gonna label this high as MMB1. And right now we are sitting around the 5 EMA here on the C2 on the 1 hour. So we have to see if there's gonna come some sort of bounce from this point here into new bullish moves on the validation time frame. So we're gonna wait to see what's gonna be developing for the rest of the session. Right now we are a little bit over 2 hours into the session. So certainly there's still chance for some nice moves to develop. So we're getting certainly some sort of bounce out of the 20 EMA on the context time frame, and on the validation we're seeing an accumulation MB here being validated through this candle close above this high. So at this time what we should be doing is basically just wait for some sort of flush as part of an MMB1 here, and that could lead into some possible entry to the upside as part of this move that we anticipate to the upside. So we're starting to get a flush as part of what we anticipate to be an MMB1 here. So we're gonna just follow it from here to see if there's gonna be a flush into the EMAs, and from there we could have the chance to find an entry opportunity. So let's see how this one will develop. Right now we have price sitting just above the 5 EMA on the validation time frame, so we must see some sort of a deeper flush for us to be able to look for an entry. If this just goes, we have to wait for a proper flush into the 10 or 20 before we can start to look for a double MB. So we're sitting around the same area as before. In terms of the high, now we're coming a little bit higher. So we have, once again, we have to wait for a proper pause and a proper flush into at least the 10 EMA. So we're gonna keep on looking at this. So out of the bounds here, as we saw, there was an impulsive move to the upside coming in, and as we can see from the chart here, there was no single opportunity for us to get an entry, as there was no flush into the 10 EMA. We had one small pause here, where price came into the 5, and from there it kept on moving and then made a new pause here where it also moved just to the 20 and up from there. So we gotta see what's gonna happen. At this point we are close here to the high of the day, so there is a chance that we could see some flush develop right before reaching the high to then basically go for it. But well, we have to see if this is something that price would like to do, or as we have come near to that point, there's a chance also that we could see some deeper flush here out of this area. So we gotta see what will happen. At the moment we are sitting at the 5 EMA here on the validation, so still no chance for us to get in due to our rule to wait for at least a touch of the 10 EMA. So this is where we are at the moment. We had this flush through this bearish candle. Now we're staying here, but again, no entry for us at this point. We should see a deeper flush to come at least here to the 10. So it seems we're getting that. We're getting that flush. I'm gonna start drawing the containment line as we are approaching a touch of the 10. And at this point we can say that we are around MMB3, as this was MMB1 here, then into MMB2, and afterwards into our current MMB3 that is building. So we have now reached into the 10 EMA. This is still our containment line. So we're gonna be ready in case we get a setup here. This one is still below the EMA, below the containment line. So we shouldn't be involved there. If it comes around this area, maybe we could say we're unable to get in at that point. So we gotta tap in. The placement of the stop loss was okay here, right below the EMAs. So now we must see if this wants to move out of the 10 or if it's gonna run for a deeper flush into the 20. This was, I believe, around a 50. Now it's a 50% drawdown. So we are gonna move our stop to break even before this one takes us out. Okay. And I just realized
Japan's Shonogi plans US.
I just realized that I placed just one contract here, but based on my risk, this should have been a 2 contract size. That's why the difference that we had here on the dollar value of the stop loss. But based on the size, it doesn't matter, as we came here under a 50% size of this stop loss. It was the right move for us to get out here at break even. So we're flushing deeper. Now we are below the 10. So we should start watching if this wants to go below for a touch of the 20, or if this wants to go from here. This is still the containment line. So I'm gonna remove this one, as I had a buy stop ready here, but this one moved below the EMAs. So we should keep on watching if this wants to come to the 20. It's getting to the 20, just a little bit under. Now we gotta see if we're gonna get some sort of reaction from there to the upside. as part of this MMB3. The containment line is basically the same. That one seems to be failing. There's a very strong move to the downside here. Buyers should come right away to see if we can avoid this to move lower. It seems there are buyers coming in. So let's be ready in case we get a break above this high. At this time we could take a look at this as MMB1. Now we should see and wait for a move above the containment line and the buildup of MMB2. So we are still under the containment line. So here I was looking at something like this. That's MMB2 with a stop loss below this, below the EMAs. Here's kind of an inside MMB. So now we must wait to see if this wants to somehow develop. As we are expecting. If we get here to the validation of this MMB3, this would be around 1, 2, 1. So at this point we can, I believe, move our stop to break even. And that was a nice win here. Sorry about that. And as we mentioned earlier, it was something that price was probably gonna run to at least the touch of this high, which was the high of the day. So let's draw this for a minute here on our TradingView screen. So this one here, we had an accumulation MB into an MMB1 into then an MMB2, neither of which flushed into the 10, so there were no opportunities for us there. And this MMB came in, which is the one that we just traded. And this line here above is the high of the day. So what we said before was that there's gonna be a chance as part of this cycle that price would go and validate MMB3 to go to the to go for those highs. So that's basically what we followed here on our entry time frame. So I'm gonna draw the same containment line once again here. This is the containment line that we were using, a long move here through to the 20. We had a move under the 20. At one time we thought that this could be failing, but then buyers came in strongly, and at that time what we did was basically drawing this here as MMB1. You could say this one here. And then we had this build up here of MMB2, which would enable us for an entry around here above the containment line and above rising MA. So this is what we in this case what we went for. So I'm just gonna place this one here. I'm gonna use the actual entry price, 23,687.25, and we closed at 23,697 with one contract. Okay, so just like this, so we closed on this candle here. It was quite of a quick trade, and we went in at 10:16:48. So we actually so this was our entry. So I placed my buy stop a little bit over this double MB around this area, and this was our top in, and from there price basically ran into our, which wasn't this here, a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. This trade actually went up above the high of day, the previous high of day, for a 2.2R before coming back to break even. So that's basically the story of how price developed throughout this trade. This is basically what we took. So this is where we are right now, and as we speak, price is basically around the high of day, as we already said. If price comes through a 10-minute candle above this high here, that would mean the validation of MMB1 on our context time frame, and we should in this case keep the bullish momentum on our entry time frame. As we had this move here, this could very well be an MMB4. So that would mean that we still could have some chance for this flush to work and move price higher above this high to validate MMB4 before it makes a reset based on our understanding of price cycle. So let's see how this one wants to develop. So at this time, what we are looking at is basically a reset of the validation cycle that we have been tracking. And right now we're sitting below the EMAs here on the context time frames. That's basically price still inside MMB1, as this MMB was not validated, and now is getting from this high through this flush that is coming to the EMAs once again. So at this point we should wait once again for consolidation, stage 1 on the validation before it makes a move higher. That's basically the thing that we should be doing. But at this point, what I'm gonna do is basically I'm gonna end the trading session for today, as it is Friday. But before I stop this recording, what I would like to do is just basically make a quick recap on all the trades that were available throughout the day, and kind of classify those as based on their quality, and basically to see if those trades would have gotten a good result in terms of the basically on the RR that we would have gained. So what I'm gonna do is I will just go back here to the start of the session, which is around this area here. So I'm just gonna look for this area here, and we will go from there to see all the markings that we have and the opportunities that were available from there. So this is our entry time frame. So we're gonna start. So out of market open, we were around this area on the C2. So what we said was that we were gonna wait for a validation of this accumulation on the C2 time frame and in the best scenario to have price above these also accumulation NB on the C2 time frame. So from there, this is the first candle of the day right here. We had a strong move to the upside, validating the accumulation NB here on the validation time frame, while we were also seeing price move above the accumulation NB here on our context time frame. So at that time, we started looking at this flush here, basically an MMB1 that was formed right off the beginning of the session, and this is right here on my right chart. This is the flush that we had from this high up to this low. We had price coming way below the EMA, but then buyers came in and pushed price higher once again, and this is what we saw on the entry time frame. There was a clear double MB here with the high of this double MB above this containment line. So this was a great entry right off the open. This is the size of the right. This is the right size of the stop that we should have used. I did not enter the trade because at that time I was using a much tighter, or I had a default stop around this area, which for me was not enough, as it was only protecting MMB2, and I usually like to have a protection to, or at best case scenarios, a little bit below the EMAs. So that's the reason I did not enter, but this one I just wanted to add it because it played very nice here. We had a move above our entry point. Price never came into drawdown and went basically up to our TP. So that was basically, I'm gonna add this one here, a +3. So just to see what was available this day. So that was the first, that would have been the first trade. After that, we saw price kept on rising. So we came to this pause here as an MMB2, but we came just to the 5 and then went higher. So we did not catch any moves there. Then into MMB3, where we had longer pause here coming into the 10 EMA. So let's go take a look at this one here. That was before, yeah, around this area here. So if we take a look here on the entry time frame, let's draw our containment line. At that point would have been around this area, as price came down into the 10 EMA and then came to the upside. There was a double MB here, but we do not take this one into account as we were below the containment line. Then we had this buildup of a double MB here, but this one was not validated, and as price went way below the EMAs, and EMAs also were starting to point downwards, I just stayed out of this setup. I believe then I kind of considered, no, I basically that was it. So that's the reason why there was no trade there. There was one here, kind of maybe difficult to catch, you could say, out of this flush, which is a one candle close basically, and we had a double MB here meeting our criteria. That one would have played nicely, but was a hard, honestly a hard trade to catch. So that's why we are not gonna count that one on our list at this moment. So after that, we saw price moving. So from here, price continued up to MMB4 at this area here. So at this point, we had this flush here from this high through these two bearish candles, almost touching the 20. So let's go there and take a look at how that went at that time. And this is what it looked like. We had this containment line here. We had this double MB. Even though price came here below the 20, we had a recovery here, price reclaiming the EMAs, and at the time of the tap in, price was above the containment line and above rising EMA, so that was a valid entry. And from there, price moved basically with no drawdown up to 2.2 R, and then came back to break even. So probably these would have been a break even trade, or as it made up to 2R, another way would have been to close maybe around here, as we saw price falling below the EMAs, which was 0.7 R. But most likely I would have played this one as a break-even trade. So at this point we have this one as a break-even. That would have been the second trade of the day. After that, we saw price failing on the V time frame around this area, and from there we had some sort of accumulation into an MMB1, which we're gonna be looking here around this area, where we had, I remember that I considered this high here. I'm gonna just label this one here, or even this one here, as an accumulation MB validated through, validated through this candle. So actually the one that I considered as an accumulation was that one. I'm gonna put this label there. So we had a validation through this candle, the same where we had the retracement as part of MMB1 from this high up to right below the 10 EMA, and we had then the buildup of this double MB here, which is interesting at this point to point out, we had inside the MMB2 we had an internal MB. Let's just change the color to make that clear, which is yellow. And then we had this one here, so that was a double MB inside MMB2, which is nice confirmation, and then the buy stop here with a stop below the EMAs and almost protecting the whole double MB, or this whole double inside double MB. And this one again had the move, no drawdown, and into full TP. So this one actually presented a new quite nice opportunity. So I'm gonna write it down here. Then from there we went up to MMB2 around here, but well, this was part of the trade before, and we did not get into the 10. We came up to this point, which I labeled at that time as MMB3, And let's take a look at that time. So that was around this area here. Here was no touch of the 10. The first touch of the 10 was around this area here. So in case we had such a trend, such a containment line, there would have been no tap here for a double MB, so there was no setup there. And from there, basically price failed, went below the EMAs. This was basically a flush of MMB1 on the C time frame. We came up to this point here where we had a bounce of the 10 EMA. We built there an accumulation validated through this candle close, and then we had a nice move to the upside away from the EMAs, and we had this retracement here, or this flush, as part of MMB1 through these two candles from this high to the EMAs. And from there we had also this double MB here, MMB1, MMB2, out of which we had this move here, which in this case also came up to 3R and then basically came down and failed. But if we had considered this one, which was fully valid in alignment to all of our system, at this point we had C2 above rising EMAs. We had our context time frame also creating this bullish cycle here above the accumulation MB and above rising EMAs. So this one at this point, out of this bounce from the 10 on the context, was fully valid, and here we got once again to a plus 3R. So I'm gonna put it there and put it here as well. Then we saw failure on the validation. Once again, price came above. At that point, I considered this again a new accumulation, and here I labeled this one as MMB1 as I saw this flush into the 20. This is here. So I saw this flush, and then I saw this double MB, which is also clear. I'm just gonna go back to my original color for these boxes, which is gray. So I had there MMB1 and here MMB2 meeting our criteria, and I placed the buy stop here. I got tapped in, got into some small profit, and then went into drawdown, almost came here to my stop, which was right below this low and below the EMAs. Came back almost to break even. I was not able to close at break even, just by a small amount, by a few pips, and then came back completely to my stop loss for a -1. So I'm gonna write it down first. And in this case, I remember that during the recording I said that I could have made an exit here manually for a small loss, but as I try to keep my system as I don't know, programmed or automatic as much as possible, I did not close here manually, and I let it run, in this case, for a full stop, which is basically where I had at this point. This was actually the first setup that I took this morning. So all the previous ones, this 9R that we have, this is something that I did not catch at the moment. So that's basically, or this part of the video is basically for me to come back and study that, to see basically the reasons why I decided to stay out of these good opportunities, at least these three that we have mentioned so far. Another, let's see. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that at that point. So from there we had price failing once again, coming back for a deeper flush on the context time frame here to the around the 20 EMA rising. And from there we had the build up of a very nice accumulation MB into a bullish cycle where we had no opportunities through MMB1 or MMB2, as we had no touch of the 20, not until MMB3, which is where I took my other trade. Let's go and see that one around here, as this is the first time throughout all this cycle that we get price coming back to the EMAs, in this case the 20 EMAs. The 20 EMA, we had at one time price going under the EMAs considerably, but we had a nice buying pressure coming in and pulling price once again above the 20. And from there we had this build-up of a double MB. That is what I used as a buy stop here for my entry. And from there I took basically a profit around 1R. So this is basically where I decided to put my take profit, due to the fact that we were coming here to this point, which is the high of day. Price actually went above it for around 2.2R and came back for or would have come back for break even. So actually it was a nice trade. Maybe I could have managed differently or more aggressively here with a candle above this point, with a candle close above the lows. So this would have let me close maybe around here for 1.4 instead of 1. But well, I'm happy to the way I managed this one. And after that, basically that's where we saw price failing due to the fact that we were completed on this price cycle after MMB4. And this is where we are right now. So this was just a little bit more to get a sense of what was available through this day. I'm gonna add here a +1. So just a quick note that out of this, I actually just was able to take this trade, this nice trade. But it's important, it's relevant to show what was also available, and for me again, in order to go back and study why I was not able to take those at the time they were presented. So basically these three trades, that's what I need to go back and study to see why I missed those. So that's it for this. So this is Friday, so we're gonna close the session and come back on Monday.